The galactic community had always viewed humans with a mixture of fascination and bewilderment. They were neither the strongest nor the most technologically advanced species, yet somehow they had carved out a reputation that preceded them across star systems. Today, Kara was about to add another bizarre chapter to that legacy. The Zenith Wanderer was a deep space research vessel, home to 43 different species working in relative harmony. Kara served as the human liaison and cultural advisor, though most days she felt more like a glorified babysitter to the universe's most dangerous children. Vrix was one of those children. The young Cathari stood barely 4 feet tall, covered in midnight blue fur with bioluminescent stripes that pulsed when he was excited, which was constantly. His species were apex predators from a death world where everything had evolved specifically to kill everything else. Adult Cathari could tear through reinforced steel with their bare claws and had reflexes fast enough to snatch projectiles from the air. Vrix, however, was only 6 cycles old. A cub. And like all cubs throughout the universe, he desperately wanted to help. Kara. Vrix's translator chirped as he bounded into the communal kitchen, his tail wagging with enough force to rattle the nearby storage containers. I want to assist with meal cleanup protocols. Kara looked up from where she was organizing the pantry, her expression shifting from surprise to carefully controlled concern. The last time Vrix had helped in the kitchen, 3 fire suppression systems had activated, and the Glorathian engineer still refused to discuss what had happened to his specialized dietary supplements. That's really sweet, Vrix, but maybe... Please. His large golden eyes widened, pupils dilating to maximum cute potential. It was a technique that worked on most species. A survival adaptation Cathari cubs had evolved to prevent their parents from eating them during particularly stressful hunts. The elder pack says I must learn responsibility. Washing dishes is responsible. Kara felt her resolve crumbling. This was the problem with being human. They were absurdly susceptible to anything small and earnest. It was a weakness that had led them to domesticate literally hundreds of species on their homeworld, including several that actively tried to kill them. All right, she sighed, already regretting her decision, but we do this together, and you follow my instructions exactly. Deal? Vrix's stripes flashed brilliant blue. Deal! The next 20 minutes would be discussed in xenopsychology papers for decades to come. Kara started simple. She filled one side of the large industrial sink with warm, soapy water, and the other with clean rinse water. She demonstrated the proper technique with a single plate. Scrub gently with the soft side of the sponge. Rinse thoroughly. Place in the drying rack. Vrix watched with the intensity of a predator stalking prey. His pupils tracked every movement, every gesture. When Kara handed him the sponge, he gripped it with the delicate precision his species was famous for. The same precision they used to separate a prey animal's spine from its nervous system. The first plate went surprisingly well. Vrix scrubbed carefully, his tongue poking out in concentration, then rinsed and placed it in the rack with only minimal clattering. Excellent, Kara encouraged. See? You're a natural. That was her first mistake. Never tell a predator cub they're succeeding. It only makes them confident. Vrix grabbed the next plate with both paws, his enthusiasm multiplying exponentially. He scrubbed with vigorous circular motions, soap bubbles flying everywhere. His tail began to wag. The stripes on his fur pulsed faster, entering the dangerous territory between excited and overstimulated. Vrix, maybe slow down a little. Too late. The plate launched from his grip like a ceramic frisbee, sailed across the kitchen, and shattered against the wall with a sound that brought 3 crew members running to investigate the apparent emergency. Vrix froze, his ears flattening against his skull. I did not mean to. It's okay, buddy. Accidents happen. Kara moved to reassure him, which was her second mistake, because Vrix, eager to fix his error and prove he wasn't a failure, grabbed for the entire stack of dirty dishes at once. What happened next occurred in slow motion, at least in Kara's memory. The stack tilted. Vrix overcompensated, his predator reflexes kicking in at exactly the wrong moment. He lunged forward to catch the falling dishes. His feet slipped on the soap-slicked floor, and suddenly 23 pounds of juvenile apex predator was airborne, claws extended, tail windmilling, stripes flashing in what could only be described as panic disco mode. He hit the sink with the force of a small meteor. Water erupted in a tidal wave. The industrial faucet, built to withstand the grip strength of species that could crush diamonds, was not designed to support the full weight of a falling Culinary cub. It snapped off with a shriek of protesting metal. Water began jetting from the broken fixture at high pressure, creating an instant indoor geyser. "Emergency protocols," Vrix yelled, doing what his training had taught him to do in crisis situations. Act decisively. He grabbed dish soap with one paw and began spraying it at the water fountain, apparently under the impression that this would somehow help. It did not help. The soap hit the pressurized water stream and transformed the kitchen into a bubble factory. Within seconds, suds were everywhere, coating the walls, the ceiling, and most importantly, the floor, which now had the traction coefficient of an ice skating rink lubricated with butter. Kara lunged for the emergency water shutoff. Her feet immediately went out from under her, and she executed an unintentional slide that would have scored perfect tens in Olympic competitions. She crashed into a cabinet, sending pots and pans cascading down around her like metallic rain. "I'm helping," Vrix announced, leaping from the counter to assist her. His trajectory calculations were perfect, his form flawless. Unfortunately, he'd forgotten about the soap. He landed on the floor, all four paws spread in different directions, and began sliding in lazy circles like a furry curling stone. "Kara, I do not understand this human custom." His translator somehow managed to convey both terror and excitement. "Why is the floor moving?" From her position wedged between a cabinet and a now dented food processor, Kara made one final heroic effort. She reached up, grabbed the emergency shutoff valve, and wrenched it closed with the desperate strength that only humans possessed when truly motivated. The water stopped. The kitchen became eerily quiet except for the gentle popping of soap bubbles and Vrix's continued slow-motion spinning. Security Officer Thrax, a hulking Glorathian with enough combat experience to make veteran soldiers weep, appeared in the doorway. He surveyed the scene. His kitchen transformed into a disaster zone, a human engineering specialist covered in suds and cooking implements, and a predator cub still gracefully rotating in the center of the floor like a fuzzy music box dancer. "I don't want to know," Thrax said flatly. "He tried to wash dishes," Kara explained, pulling herself upright, "and instead, I washed the floor. With myself, repeatedly." Vrix finally slid to a stop against a table leg, his stripes now pulsing a guilty purple. Sorry, Kara. I wanted to be helpful like humans, but perhaps Culinary are not meant for cleaning protocols." Kara limped over and gently scratched behind his ears, the one gesture that was universally soothing across most species. "Vrix, buddy, you know what humans are really famous for?" His ears perked up hopefully. "Washing floors with their bodies?" "No," she laughed, soap bubbles still clinging to her hair. "We're famous for trying again. We fail, we make ridiculous mistakes, we turn kitchens into disaster zones, and then we clean up and try again. That's what makes us human." She paused, looking around at the destruction. "Though maybe next time we start with something less water-based. How do you feel about organizing the supply closet?" Vrix's stripes brightened slightly. "I will only use my organizational skills." "No liquids." "That's my cub." Later, after the kitchen was restored and Vrix was safely occupied with color-coding spare parts under strict supervision, Kara filed her incident report. In the section marked Human Cultural Lesson Learned, she wrote simply, "Patience, adaptability, and the willingness to wash floors with one's entire body if necessary. Standard human protocols. The galactic community would never fully understand humans, but thanks to incidents like these, they were starting to understand why humans had a saying, 'What doesn't kill you makes you stronger,' and why humans, despite being merely average in most metrics, had become the galaxy's favorite species to have around when things inevitably went sideways. Because humans didn't just survive disasters. They created them, laughed about them, learned from them, and somehow came out the other side better for it, even if they had to wash a few floors along the way."